which is our Safe Haven campus, the boil water advisory has been lifted for that system as well. We continue to do testing as power is restored, and we will hopefully get further results that we're able to lift the boil advisories on those systems. And again, our private utility companies will do the same, as well as our municipalities. Regarding garbage and debris removal, our debris removal contractor will mobilize tomorrow, Wednesday, and begin picking up in your neighborhoods and in the rural areas. Please separate, as we've been given precautions before, into green debris, white debris, which is washing machines, refrigerators, freezers, electronics, and household waste. Your household waste should be in a garbage cart or container and be left curbside as well. Make sure you place your debris on the back side of the ditches and or as close to the curb as possible if you have closed ditches. Please do not enter the streets or the ditches themselves with your debris if at all possible. And please avoid utility pedestals, mailboxes, and storm drains for placing your debris. Please note that debris in plastic garbage bags will not be picked up by your debris contractor. Even if it's green waste, your debris placed in plastic bags will not be picked up. If they are in plastic bags, your own household garbage contractor may or may not pick up that waste. If you have limits to what your garbage contractor will pick up, they may not pick that up. So that's between you and your contractor. So please make sure any green debris is not bagged. They will pass right over it. Our businesses, banks are reopening, supermarkets, pharmacies, restaurants, service stations, they're reopening as power is restored. The lines for fuel are going down, as we can see. I filled up yesterday and had no line. It was Monday afternoon at 4 o'clock, and there was no line at a major service station. So I was glad to top off my tank. The U.S. Post Office has noted that mail delivery resumes today in the 704 zip code. Make note that the Madisonville branch is still closed, and the alternate is the Mandeville branch of the post office. But all other post offices are open, and mail delivery resumes today. A schools update. Our public, private, and parochial schools are still closed. I have a note from Meredith Mendez of St. Tammany Parish Schools on behalf of Superintendent Frank Jabia. Cleanup and repairs are continuing across the St. Tammany Parish school system. We have 51 of 55 schools that have power, and this is aiding in the restoration process. We're hopeful that power will be restored to all of our schools this week, but we have not yet made a final determination on a school reopen date yet. They had indicated before that they would open no sooner than next Monday, September 13th. A 3-day notice will be given before schools open to allow for their employees and families to prepare for the return of school. The school systems will continue to provide updates through social media, mobile app, and website. And I'm sure our private and parochial schools will do the same. Our parents know how to be notified in those systems as well. Our parish libraries, Mandeville, the Mandeville branch, Causeway, and Slidell are opening today. The Covington branch will be opening on Thursday. The remaining branches hope to be open next week. The libraries are available. They're AC, they're cool. They have copy and fax machines. They're available for materials for checkout. However, at this time, internet and Wi-Fi is not available, but will be provided upon power being restored to their main office administrative building on 21st Avenue in Covington. So hopefully that will be restored pretty soon. Our government offices are now open here at St. Tammany Parish Government. Coop Drive, our main office here, Building A, Building B, for our administrative offices. The Towers building in Slidell is open as well. St. Tammany Parish parks are still closed until it's deemed safe for our visitors to re-enter. Plus, we're still assessing damages to our parks, our playgrounds, to the Tammany Trace. So they'll be closed until further notice. I'm signing an executive order today waiving permit fees for repair or restoration of damaged homes or properties due to the effects of Hurricane Ida. This does not, however, eliminate the requirement to obtain a permit and to ask for and receive inspections. Again, waiving permit fees for repair and restoration of damaged properties. Not for new construction, not for additions. This has been done in the past in municipal government and parish government in circumstances like these. More information will be forthcoming. Our pods located in Covington and Slidell will be closing today at the end of today at 6 p.m. They provided a great service for us in providing resources to our citizens throughout the parish with food, with water, ice, and MREs. We want to thank GOSEP, the National Guard, and the hosts, First Baptist Church of Covington, and the City of Slidell's Fritchie Park in Slidell for hosting these events. Those affected by Hurricane Rita have several options to apply for resources and help. You may apply for FEMA assistance online at disasterassistance.gov or by calling 1-800-621-3362. Under the Army Corps of Engineers, there's a Blue Roof program. You may go online to blueroof.us for that service. Please remember to report damages to your insurance company, and you may report damages to damage.la.gov as well, so that we can receive that information. Anyone looking to contribute to hurricane relief causes, money that stays here in St. Tammany Parish, they've been providing assistance or receiving donations from so many generous people since before the storm. The United Way of Southeast Louisiana at unitedwayseala.org/Ida Relief, and the North Shore Community Foundation, northshorefoundation.org. So I'm going to go back to the top of my page because I think our citizens are particularly interested in hearing about the restoration of power throughout our parish. And before I call on the individual representatives for the utilities, I'm going to ask our Public Service Commissioner, Mr. Eric Scrametta, who has joined us today, to give us an update from his perspective. Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you for the opportunity to come and speak with the public today. We have been working behind the scenes since the beginning of this terrible disaster that it's affected 2 major metropolitan areas and a number of secondary population cities throughout 15 or 16 parishes throughout the southeastern part of the state. This has been a storm which is largely more impactful than Hurricane Katrina. We had approximately 18,000 poles taken out by Hurricane Katrina. We are over 25,000 poles in this Hurricane Ida. It is creating a much bigger response where before we had approximately, I think Katrina had somewhere between 16 and 18,000 personnel respond throughout the region. We now have over 25,000 with the investor-owned utilities, not including the several thousand between the rural electric cooperatives. So we have caused an army to be formed, and this task force has worked aggressively to cause restoration throughout the region. We are very happy that Cleco, through the North Shore component of where they distribute electricity, is cracked the 91.5% restoration. We are also very happy about Washington St. Tammany Co-op in the St. Tammany and Washington Parish region have cracked the 85% restoration. We are observing, interacting, and assisting with the electric utilities to identify weak spots. We are working with our local elected officials, the mayors of the smaller towns, our parish presidents, and anybody else that we are finding the sometimes items that slip between the cracks. We are going to be continuing to observe these issues until such time as everyone has gotten power restored. We are going to look at our after-action reports on these utilities. We are going to find that we have taken a response to a Category 4 storm, which in theory should be a 21-day response and have the bulk of the power back on in 9 days. And that is an exceptional response from all utilities responding, electric utilities, and we are going to continue to engage on the same level of demands on our communications companies, our water resources, and other utilities that are somewhat often overlooked, including wastewater and natural gas services, who have all engaged in the restoration process. Now, where we are on how we're going to look at this in the future, we have already engaged with sending letters to our federal government. I personally have written a letter to the President Biden and copied his senior assistant, Cedric Richmond, and also to our Congressman, Senator Troy Carter, asking them to do two things: to expand the Stafford Disaster Recovery and Relief Act. Under that Relief Act, the rural electric cooperatives receive 90% or more of their damages covered by the federal government, and it reduces the impact on their members. And unfortunately, investor-owned utility customers are not provided for under the Stafford Act. There have been incidences in the past in Hurricane Sandy where New Jersey and New York received some treatment where they were provided for under their investor-owned utilities, and it reduced the impact on the general public. We are engaging with our federal delegation and our federal friends in Washington to get the help necessary to reduce the overall burden of storm recovery costs on our public. Secondly, we are engaging with our legislators. We are moving to create several new plans that will help on the region and help our state as we move forward in the future on how we deal with storm recovery. One of which is we have in the past suggested retail vendors of gasoline provide for emergency backup generators. We are engaging with our legislators to provide legislation that will grant them a 100% tax credit for retailers of gasoline to run their entire facility on natural gas generators, where there will be continued sources of gasoline and food supplies throughout the state and during storms and any particular electricity outages. The second thing we're going to be doing is expanding how we interact with communications companies to ensure that the Public Service Commission has greater influence in how restoration of services are for the communication services, including broadband, cellular, and traditional hardline services. Many of you may not realize that the Public Service Commission does not have jurisdiction over cellular communications or broadband or cable, but we do have registration requirements of storm plans that were put into place by the legislature after the impact of poor performance issues during Hurricane Laura last year in Lake Charles. That's about where I'm going to leave this. I do want to take the time to thank our partners at this level in St. Tammany. I want to thank President Cooper. I want to thank Captain Lorino. I want to thank our coroner, who is dealing with the side of impact of storms that most people don't realize. And I want to thank Chuck for his work. I want to thank our sheriff, Randy Smith, for the work he's doing in keeping the public safe. And I really want to thank all of our mayors throughout this process in the St. Tammany and Washington Parish and wherever we're reaching with this broadcast, because your local work and the way we work together is how we bring confidence to the public on this restoration. But I will tell you, from 12 years ago when I took office, we had much longer restoration, and the way we've been working on bringing together best practices, response plans, and the demands we set upon these industries, we have improved every year, and we will continue to improve for the benefit of the public. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yes, sir. Thank you, Commissioner. We appreciate that update and appreciate your leadership on getting sustainable utilities to our parish and to our state. While we're on utilities, let's go to Cleco, and we've got Mr. Eric Schwest representing Cleco, and is going to give us an update on the status of services and the restoration here in St. Tammany Parish.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate the opportunity to address your constituents and, of course, our customers in the region. As of 1:30 today, Cleco has restored power, as the Commissioner mentioned, to roughly 91% of our customers in St. Tammany and Washington parishes that lost electricity due to Hurricane Ida. One of the things that we do want to pass along is we do ask for, and we greatly appreciate our customers' patience and understanding as we do work to wrap up our restoration efforts this week. We've not begun to release crews. There has been a rumor that crews are leaving the area from Cleco and maybe moving to other utilities or going back out of state. Apart from a very small number that have been affected by COVID and already replaced, in fact, what we've been doing is shifting resources from the eastern regions of the parish over to the western region over the past several days, and that will continue. We now have the full force of our assisting resources focused on the remaining damage, which is primarily on the west side and the Lacombe area. Ramp down of resources will begin as and when we get to a point where we have crews addressing all remaining breakdowns safely and efficiently. We do estimate a complete restoration of St. Tammany and Washington Parish by the end of the weekend. Although customer outage counts are below 10,000, the remaining effort is substantial. Much of the remaining work involves heavily vegetated areas with extensive infrastructure and/or backyard repairs, which take longer to complete. I would like to go over some estimated times of restoration. In the Slidell area, per earlier updates, our estimate is for Slidell is the end of today to be fully restored. We have about 50 customers, the latest that I looked, that are without power. Some of those cannot take power. So again, everyone who can take it should have it by the end of today. In the Pearl River area, there are river customers that will remain out due to high water. Where the water has descended at other locations prior to this report, those customers are restored. We will have approximately 16 customers remain out until the river goes down. The last we checked, it had dropped about 2 feet. We'll be monitoring this daily. In the Mandeville and Madisonville areas, we do expect the evening of Wednesday, September 8th, that we will have almost all customers restored with power. We'll have a few that will remain out. We'll be working with off-road equipment in hard-to-access areas, as mentioned before, to get these small amount of customers back on. The area of Lewisburg, as it resides just outside of the municipal area of Mandeville, is expected to be restored tonight. barring any unforeseen issues with weather or unexpected damage that may occur after restoration. In the Lacombe, Abita, and Covington areas, the estimated time of restoration is the evening of Thursday, September 9th. With this, as always, we'll have a few customers without power, some that cannot take power. In Washington Parish, the ETR is working toward today, Tuesday, September 7th, for most customers. Again, we'll have a few that cannot take power. We will be working again with off-road equipment. We're dragging dozers and equipment, marsh buggies into some of the harder hit areas. Road closures. We'd like to talk about a couple of them regarding repairs. St. Tammany residents should be aware of a scheduled road closure, which will begin or has begun today, September 7th, as crews complete necessary repairs to power lines damaged. Cleco has notified the Sheriff's Office of the need to completely block off Riverside Drive off of US Highway 190 near Covington in order to make repairs to power lines. A schedule will continue going forward, and that schedule is as follows. Work will begin daily at 8:30 in the morning, and it will stop at dark. There'll be pauses and reopenings, and obviously we'll reopen for emergencies. That schedule will resume until we complete the restoration. Some of the challenges that we're continuing to see, the amount of broken poles, which the commissioner addressed. The latest number that I've seen statewide has exceeded 30,000 broken poles. Damaged transformers is continuing to show up as we work our way into the hard-hit areas. Down wire, obviously. Impassable roads have made restoration difficult. The heat. We have had some instances of heat stress that are occurring daily with a lot of our crews trying to keep them hydrated. The pandemic also creates some complications, but has not slowed down our restoration effort. I would also like to share a safety message. But before I get to that safety message, I do want to mention that we're getting to a point where we're talking about reconnect after repairs. This is on the downside of the meter. This is on the customer side of the meter. If there's any damage to a customer's home or business or to the electrical service entrance that may pose a danger if power is restored, Cleco cannot energize the service until repairs are made by a licensed electrician. Once repairs are made, the electrician should call the appropriate governing authority, that may be the parish or any of the municipalities that you live in, regarding permitting and inspections. So relative to safety, we have had some instances where private tree contractors are coming within 10 feet of energized conductor. This is an extremely dangerous situation where we could end up with a public contact case as they're trying to remove trees and debris from the yards. If you or a contractor or cleanup crew are clearing trees or debris from your property following Hurricane Ida, please remember to stay away from all power lines, whether they are down or in the air. Please do not place debris on top or underneath power lines. It's dangerous for you and the crews that are coming into work and could prolong the restoration process. We've already had some damage to areas that have been restored by private tree contractors. We want to remind customers and these crews to please be mindful when tree trimming and make sure limbs being cut do not come into contact with power lines or Cleco power equipment. And at this time, Mr. President, barring any questions, I'll be remaining here to help and support as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you for that detailed update. Eric, you've been very accessible to us each and every day, giving us updates, and I certainly appreciate it. Following, I'd like to give an update on Washington St. Tammany Electric. Commissioner Scremetta mentioned that update, and they've got about 4,100 customers still without power, which is over 85% restoration of power. We get, not daily, but sometimes 3 times, 4 times a day from their representative, Johnny Brule, that's given us an update on their restoration of power, and they're doing a great job in getting power restored as well. I also have an update from Patrick Hamby of Entergy, As you all know, as we've been saying, Entergy has a small portion of our parish in the southwest corner of the parish in the Madisonville, Beedico area. They have less than 500 customers without power at this time out of their total 5,000 customers, more or less. So that's about 10% without power, or to turn that around, that's 90% of their customers that have been restored. So we're happy to have those updates as well for all of our utility companies that are working so hard each and every day to get power restored to our citizens. When I was speaking about Tammany utilities, I failed to mention our wastewater treatment plants and our lift stations. They're coming back online as power is restored. We've been using generators to the extent possible to operate our lift stations and sewer treatment plants. We've also engaged the services of vacuum trucks to pump out lift stations as needed. But we're, with the restoration of power, we're getting these systems back up and running as well. I'd like to call on Dr. Charles Preston to give us an update on the medical state of our parish at this time.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Dr. Chuck Preston, the St. Tammany Parish Coroner. I want to give an update on the status of our office first. We activated our hurricane plan last week. A small but mighty force has been working very hard over the last week to keep the functions of the offices moving. We have reached out to the partner hospitals in St. Tammany Parish to take morgue overflow into our facility for storage. And so if a loved one is having trouble locating a decedent who was in a hospital, check with our office. They may have been moved to our office for keeping. We are responding to sexual assault nurse examiner calls on a case-by-case basis. We're very comfortable here in St. Tammany that we can respond to all the facilities and have responded over the last week. In some of our outlying parishes, it will be a case-by-case basis predicated on travel conditions. The psychiatric services continue to be offered. The office is open and operating for orders of protective custodies, and deputy coroners are responding to the physician's emergency certificates that need to be evaluated. I have to remind everybody that we're not talking in the past tense of this catastrophe yet. We are still going through it. There are folks in our office who are without homes and without power, who are still coming to work to provide service and trying to recover in the evenings. In addition to that, this is happening in the face of the COVID pandemic. And as I mentioned, we brought a number of bodies to the coroner's office from outlying hospitals, and their morgues were full, and they were full of COVID fatalities. This pandemic is just as real and just as virulent as it has ever been, and I anticipate that we will see a spike in cases as people had to gather together for safety in congregate shelters and not be able to completely observe all of the mitigation measures. Again, that is something that I have not seen yet, but I would not be surprised if that happens over the next couple of weeks. Again, I want to warn people about safe generator use. Carbon monoxide is an odorless, colorless poison that will paralyze and kill in minutes. So it is very important to observe those rules of 20. Your generator 20 feet from your home, let it cool down for 20 minutes before you gas it back up, and spend the $20 for a carbon monoxide monitor if you can find it. As in many cases, we did not sustain any deaths as a direct result of Katrina, but we have had some deaths as a result of the recovery. I'm very sad to say that our community lost a local hero, Ed Cowboy Kelly, Lewis, with the Camp Nora, No One Rides Alone. Anybody that knew Cowboy Lewis knew that he was a bigger than life character, and his heart was in serving veterans, and he has done an incredible job in delivering services. My condolences go out to his family and to all of his brother veterans as well. We are continuing to operate. Our phone systems are off and on, unfortunately. If you're unable to get through to us, we will forward our phones to the dispatch and they will get in contact with us. But we are up and operating all of the services for our parish and for our partner parishes as well.
Thank you, Dr. Preston. And Dr. Preston reached out to me 2 nights ago when he advised me of the passing of Ed Cowboy Lewis as well. He's served on the Veterans Affairs Council for St. Tammany Parish government. He's very, very passionate about serving his fellow vets, and he was a bigger than life part of St. Tammany Parish as well. And he will be sorely missed, and on behalf of St. Tammany Parish government, I send our condolences to his family and to the entire veteran community in St. Tammany Parish. Another larger-than-life individual, Chairman Mike Lorino, St. Tammany Parish Council, going to give us an update.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mike. You know, you covered a lot of the things that I had on there, and I thank you very much. But I just want to say right up front, thank you to you and your administration. Been working very closely with the council and moving things forward. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'd like to let the citizens know that we can continue what we started after the hurricane. After the hurricane, the council administrator was working in the EOC. She was receiving texts and emails from council members who were receiving messages from their constituents, and we were able to get that right to the department that it needs to go. We're still doing that. We're just going to be operating out of our Coop Drive office. But I want to say thank you to the members of the council. Every council member has been working on this diligently along with the administration, and it's been a team effort. And it's been a long, hard, but I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'd like to comment on Mr. Swess's comments about electric. And Eric, thank you very much. That happens to be about 90% of my district that you're talking about. And I learned something from you that I never knew last week, that a citizen, when they see the pole go down and they put the new pole up, they automatically think that the power will be restored. I thought that also. So I would call Mr. Swess and say, where's the power? And he'd say, Mike, there's another source, and it's outside of that, and that's the distribution to those poles. And we ran into that, and I want to say, Eric, thank you very much for enlightening me and allowed me to pass that on to the constituents. I know you ran into some issues in Lewisburg. We're taking care of that, as you said, and we'll look at maybe the other issues that may have hampered that, and I promise I'll do that. But I just want to say thank you once again. Mr. President, I would hope that we check with Charter. I have not heard anything from Charter. The constituents are now asking, I have power. Their next question right up front is when I'm going to have internet. So I just want to maybe throw that out on the table and also say, please, on your garbage pickup, do not bag it. Please separate it so that we can get it picked up. But once again, Mr. President, thank you very much, and I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
All points very well taken. With regard to internet service providers, Charter is but one. We've got other internet service providers too that will get updates so that we can provide that information to our citizens. To give updates on our cities, our municipalities, I've invited the mayors of Slidell, Mandeville, and Covington. Mayor Cromer was not able to make it today, but I've got Mayor Mark Johnson from Covington and Mayor Clay Madden from Mandeville. Mayor Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. President. Beginning before the winds of Hurricane Ida had subsided, the City of Covington's Public Works Department and Fire Department began working with debris contractors to clear the streets. This allowed Cleco's line crews to get in. By Wednesday of last week, Cleco had approximately 50 trucks working in Covington. They rebuilt the transmission lines coming into the city, energized all of our substations, and on Friday, they dismantled and rebuilt one substation that had been destroyed. Simultaneously, they were working on the distribution feeds throughout the city. So as of today, about 75% of the city has power. But in that area that is heavily forested, between Collins Boulevard and the Shafunkta River, we're probably about 50% energized. This area was particularly hit hard, and because it's heavily wooded, lots of broken poles, lots of wires tangled up in trees, and the trees that have wires tangled up in them cannot be touched by the City of Covington or by our subcontracting crews. If your house has sustained damage, or if the homes surrounding you have power and you do not, please go online to the Covington website and apply for a building permit. The building permit fees are waived, and this will notify us that you require an electrical inspection. The city will send an inspector out to assess the repairs if needed, or the repairs that have been made. And once approved, the city will notify Cleco on your behalf that you are approved for connection. So if you're one of those residents sitting in a house wondering why everyone else has electricity and you don't, please apply for a building permit. We'll get the inspector out there and we'll try to get you energized. City Hall will be open again for business as usual beginning tomorrow. Our boil water advisory remains in place as a precaution. When the boil water advisory is lifted, it will be announced loudly, publicly, and with glee. But you will know when it's lifted. Our fuel shortage appears to be abating. As President Cooper mentioned, many of our stations have gasoline today and relatively short lines. So let's hope it stays that way. And I will be here for questions.
Thank you, Mayor Mark. On behalf of Covington, and now on behalf of Mandeville, Mayor Clay Madden.
Thank you, Mr. President. I first want to say, on behalf of the city of Mandeville, I certainly could not do this, and I just want to thank my team in Mandeville, from my directors who have been working tireless hours, to the people at City Hall, to our police department, to our public works department, and I think Mayor Johnson said a couple of days ago, the Public Works Department are really some of the unsung heroes of a hurricane. They have been working extremely hard, as well as our staff at City Hall. We have people operating on a skeleton crew, if you will, at City Hall right now, but starting tomorrow, City Hall will be open for regular hours. I want to talk about debris pickup. That started today. We have 12 teams in Mandeville, and they're basically starting at the Causeway Bridge. 6 are moving east and 6 are moving west. Our debris contractor will not stop picking up debris until it is all gone. I have gotten a lot of constituents asking, I've got all my front yard debris at the curb and I don't have enough room to put my backyard debris. Let the debris contractor come, pick it up, and then move your backyard debris to the curb for a second pickup as soon as you can. They're going to do 3, 4, 5 passes, as many as they need. Regular garbage pickup does resume tomorrow. On Wednesday, Coastal Environmental, our garbage provider, has said that recycling in Mandeville, which we have recycling in Mandeville, which has temporarily been suspended, you may use your recycle cart for garbage. They will empty it tomorrow, so if you have extra household garbage, use your recycle cart. It will all be emptied. I just want to thank Cleco. I've been in constant contact with them. They've provided extremely good communication. We have a couple of clusters of homes throughout Mandeville, particularly in Old Mandeville, that are still out. And I, as the mayor, am doing everything I can to get your power restored. You heard Mr. Schwest come up here. They are doing everything they can. I was just on Hutchinson Street in Old Mandeville, which is an area where one side of the street is still completely out, and I saw 3 or 4 trucks and crews working very diligently. We've got Mandeville residents that have power restored and that are still without power that are bringing lunch and food to these linemen, and it just shows the true spirit of the city that I'm proud to live in, and I'm very proud of that. I do want to announce today that the curfew in Mandeville has been canceled today, so there will no longer be a curfew at night. The Mandeville Police Department knows of those clusters that are still a little dark, and we'll be patrolling. We have double shifts of the police department going. As of right now, the following parks in Mandeville remain closed: Neighborwoods, Paul Cordes Park behind City Hall, as well as Sunset Point. And Sunset Point is going to be used as a staging area for our debris monitoring company. Nobody is allowed in Sunset Point. That is off limits. You know where you're going if we catch you in there. I just want to thank the parish for its leadership during this crisis. Everybody has been very communicative, and thank you very much for having me.
Thanks for that update, Mayor. With regard to debris pickup in St. Tammany, we may not have the luxury of going 2, 3, 4, and 5 times to pick up. We have a large parish, and we've been urging our citizens to get the debris out as soon as possible, to the extent that you can. There may be exceptions to that, and we certainly want to get all debris picked up as well. There's many things to go around, and of course, parish government can't do it all on its own. We've had resources brought in by so many private individuals, nonprofits, and other organizations, church organizations, too many to name right now, but we can't do it on our own. We also had Governor Edwards and his team join us at the Emergency Operations Center in Covington on Saturday morning. He brought in his director of GOSEP, representatives of FEMA, Army Corps of Engineers, National Guard, CPRA, and other agencies to give us an update and to let us know as parish government and our municipalities of how they can serve us, how they are readily available to serve us and all the resources that they have. And we, of course, cannot do it without the partnerships that we have with them. Joining us at that briefing included representatives of the state legislature, Senator McMath, Representative Freeman, Representative Wright, and Representative Hollis. I've also been in touch, and they have reached out to us, Senator Kennedy, Senator Cassidy, and Representative Scalise. They're working with us, of course, to let us know what resources are available to us from the on a national level and from their perspective, and we certainly appreciate them. We had an opportunity on Sunday, 2 days ago, Sunday afternoon, with our contractor, our debris contractor, to get a bird's eye view of the damage in St. Tammany Parish, and members of my staff joined a representative of DRC, which is our debris contractor, to see exactly the extent of damages across St. Tammany Parish, and we want to thank them for that. Again, a lot of thanks. I'll particularly, in closing, want to thank our team Tammany, St. Tammany Parish government, every department, every official, our parish council, their representatives, each and every department who either worked at the EOC during its activation or were working out in the field. Each and every one played a part in getting us to where we are today on day 9 of this recovery, and we will continue to serve our citizens as we have before, and to the extent that we can, we'll be having more updates as we go. I'm not saying we're going to have a daily press conference, but we wanted to have this today following the deactivation of the EOC as we move into restoring the normal services that we're providing here at Coop Drive. So I'll open it up to questions for any of the members on the floor with us today, or I'll answer any questions.
You got everything covered pretty good, Mike. I can't think of anything to ask you.
Wait a minute. I just heard Sarah Bagones said that we covered everything and she has no questions. Thank you, Sarah. Justin? Well, that's a wrap. Thank you all very much.